Okay, now be honest. How many of you absolutely hate discovery calls? You show up with your list of questions, or you spend forever on small talk talking about the weather, God forbid. By the end, you still have no idea whether the deal is real or if it's just a waste of everybody's time, especially yours. I totally get it. I have been there. I'm Kristen, and I went from teaching 7th graders to selling 7-figure tech deals at companies like Salesforce, Tableau, and Outreach, and a few more. And candidly, being a teacher prepared me for tech sales way more than you might think, because in both cases, if you are boring, you will definitely lose your audience. Execs might just scroll on their phones, but 7th graders will just fall asleep. Brutal. Over the last decade, my teams have closed over $50 million in deals, and I've learned something. Great discovery calls are not just about asking the perfect questions. They're about showing up prepared and actually caring about helping people solve their problems. So today I want to share what I call EMT Discovery. It's simple, it works, and it'll make your discovery calls way less painful. All right, here's what's not working. Look, we have all been on those calls where the rep opens and says, "So, tell me about your company. What do you guys do?" And the execs are thinking, "Oh my God, you could have Googled that." When you start with basic questions that you could have done a quick Google search on, you're basically telling your prospect, "I didn't prepare and I really don't understand your world." So this is not exactly confidence inspiring, right? The good news, there is a much better way, and I call it EMT Discovery. And it's way simpler than most sales frameworks. And it works no matter what company you work for and no matter what buyer you're selling to. So let's get into it. All right, so the E is excavate. The Oxford Dictionary says that to excavate something is to remove earth carefully and systematically in order to find something buried. Our buyers have stress and pain in their lives, and we want to come with a point of view on what those things might be based on our experience working with those buyers. So at the start of discovery, we're going to start with some questions that both establish our credibility and that are easy for buyers to answer. And by that, I mean, we don't want to ask them essay questions. We want to ask multiple choice. Nobody likes essay questions. Multiple choice, much easier, okay? So here's the formula for how those multiple choice questions go. The formula is, in this role, I talk to XYZ industry leaders all day long. They tell me about their heartburn with problems A, B, and C. How much of your world sounds like that? And what did I miss? Here's an example of what that sounds like in real life. So in this role, I talk with legal operations and legal firm leaders all day long. And usually it's because they struggle to collaborate within a department or firm, or they're struggling to collaborate with clients. Sometimes they aren't effectively establishing or reinforcing their brand and identity, or they are under pressure to be more responsive and agile and reduce costs all at the same time. But I'm curious, how much of your world sounds like that, and what did I miss that you're focused on? And I'd encourage you to stop this video, look back at the formula, and then quickly write your own quick script. What would that sound like on your calls? Could you use that on your next discovery call? Okay, so that's the first part of the E in EMT, the excavate. The second part is what I call excavating second level pain. When they start talking to us, when we say, how much of that sounds like your world and what did I miss? And they say, well, it's a little of what you said here and it's a little of this, but it's actually this. And they start giving you a few more details. We get what we sometimes call happy ears, where we hear pain we can solve, and then we start thinking about what we're going to say next about what we can do. Instead, that should be our cue to excavate second level pain. And here are a couple of questions that dig at that second and third level pain. So when they tell you, this is my problem, we say, okay, well, this problem has likely been a problem for a while now. I'm curious what's causing it to be a priority for you right now. Okay, another one is, could you walk me through the ripple effects that's having across the business? How many goals or initiatives or teams are affected downstream by this problem? Another great second level question that we can get us to help buyers quantify impact is starts with the acronym MATH, M-A-T-H, and you realize I was a teacher. I do love a good acronym. Okay, so the M in math is metric. What metric are you using to measure this? Is it revenue? Is it margin? Is it churn? Is it headcount? Is it spend? Something that you know your buyers measure, right? So M is asking, hey, what metric do you use to measure this? And then A is actual. What is the actual number you are hitting right now? Is it 5 million in revenue? Is it 18% churn? Is it 7% margin? Okay, what is your actual? And then T in math, M-A-T-H, the T is target. What is your target or ideal or your goal for that metric? Is it 11% in revenue? Is it 3% churn? Is it 21% margin? Okay, and the note here is that it can't just be we want to get better. Okay, so if they say, so what is it? If they say we just want to get better, we can ask further, hey, what does better mean to you? If we're talking dollars, does that mean millions or tens of millions? Does that mean 6% or 26%? And again, notice how often we're using multiple choice here, right? And then the H of M-A-T-H is holding you back. So what's holding you back from hitting your targets today? Okay, so that is the second part of EMT. It's excavating second level pain. The M of EMT is matching their urgency. Okay, there are basically 3 reasons that people show up for discovery calls. They are just in education mode, they're finding out what's out there. They've got a big problem that they needed solved 6 months ago, or this is something they're thinking about doing in the next 12 months, but it's not that urgent. Okay, we need to find out what their level of urgency is so we know both what steps make sense for them and for us. If they are just in education mode, then we need to nurture them, not drop them, but we need to come up with some sort of nurture sequence, and we'll talk about that in a later session. If this is their biggest problem, we need to match their urgency and set up meetings with them quickly, so we can help them quickly evaluate and solve their problem. I'm a big fan also of just being fully transparent and just having that simple conversation. So this happens towards the end of the call, after we've excavated that first and second level pain. We've heard the things that are important to them. We've heard about their problem. Now we want to match the urgency that they feel to solve that problem. And again, I think it just works to be super transparent and have a normal conversation and not sound salesy when we match urgency. So that sounds like this. Hey, I find that there are 3 reasons that people show up for calls like this. Sometimes people come because they're in education mode and they just want to understand more about what's out there. Some people come to these calls and they have a huge problem that frankly they needed solved 6 months ago, and they're hoping we can help with that. And then some folks have an issue, it's a pain. They're probably going to do something about it in the next year or so, but it's not that urgent. And I'm curious where you would put yourself on that scale, right? Education mode to biggest problem I have. And the reason I'm asking is I would never want to be the one to chase anything. I am not trying to blow up your inbox. So if today was just education mode for you today, totally fine, okay? And again, the reason we ask this towards the end of the call, but before we set next steps, is their answer determines what next steps make sense for them and for us. Again, and also because we went first by being transparent and saying, hey, there's lots of reasons people take these calls. You might not be ready to buy today. We have said the hard thing. We've said it's okay to tell us the hard thing. And so we're much more likely to get transparent answers. Also, when we've given them the reason we're asking, and we say the reason I'm asking is I don't want to blow up your inbox, I don't want to chase anything, that's a huge relief to them. And they feel better about telling us what the real answer is. And they get less of an idea that they're going to be objection handled, right? Because we're telling them kind of these are the real reasons you might come to a call, okay? So it's only after we match their urgency that we teach them to buy. So if they're in an education mode, we're just going to put them into a nurture sequence. So that could sound like, hey, I have some pieces on thought leadership around the industry. I try to send them out to people every month or so. Any reason why I shouldn't just send that along while you're thinking about this? Very rarely are they going to say no. But if they do, that tells you it's really not that urgent. So that's if they're in education mode. And it can really, frankly, be the same response if they're looking to solve the problem in the next year or so, right? if this is the biggest problem they have or a really big problem, then we definitely want to teach them how to buy. Buyers are experts in how to do their jobs. They are not experts in how to buy our thing. They want us to teach them how to buy. If you think about, if you've ever studied, which I'm enough of a geek that I've studied climbers who summit Everest, these are expert climbers. They are amazing athletes. They've done this before. They are experts, right? But when they get to Everest, they hire Sherpas. The Sherpa is the expert on the mountain, not the climbing, but the mountain. They have been where those climbers want to go. They're going to show them, that's their job, is to show them and advise them the best way to get what they want, which is to summit Everest. In a sale, we, the sellers, we are the Sherpa. We are helping these climbers, we are helping these executives and end users and managers, we are helping them get to the destination that they want to go to, okay? We want to be a good guide. Everyone wants a good guide. The T in EMT Discovery is teach them to buy. And that can sound like this. Hey, typically when folks evaluate our product, leaders from operations and finance and HR all get involved. So would it make sense to loop in Shonda, your VP of HR, and also Christina, your VP of Finance, into our conversation? But I also know that every organization is different. Would somebody else in your organization be better? In that, we've communicated a number of things. We're showing that we've done our homework. We know who their executives are. We know who the executives are that typically need to be involved, right? And we've shown them that we've done our homework, that we know who those execs are in their organization. Another way this can work, another way this can be asked, if we don't happen to know their names, it's very powerful to mention their names, but if we don't have them for whatever reason, we can still teach them to buy by asking a different question. And we can say, these days, frankly, I've seen with working with other customers, it is harder than ever to bring on new tech. Or if you're not selling tech, it's harder than ever for organizations to spend money. And I'm seeing all across my clients that to bring on something new, it really has to be specifically aligned with a C-level priority. So in your opinion, what C-level priority does this most closely align with? Hopefully they know the answer there. If they don't, that tells us something different. Okay, so but when they say, oh, it's this initiative, then we say, okay, well, who's responsible for the success of that priority? Okay, and then when they tell us who that is, then we can ask, okay, in your opinion, what's the best way to get them involved? Think about, how does this compare to how you're asking about executive priorities now in your early calls? I also want to point out another magic T word in the EMT Discovery. We start with typically. Typically what happens is, or typically who gets involved is, typically is a magic word, and here's why. It's based on something called herd theory, which is basically that we as mammals feel most safe doing what everyone else is done. And think about it, we all want to know what everyone else is doing or what everyone else thinks. That's why Google reviews are so popular, right? So when we say not, this is how I, the salesperson, have seen it work, or not, this is not what I recommend, but we say, hey, typically other folks are doing this, this, and this. Other folks are looping in their VP of HR and their VP of Finance. It makes our buyers feel safe because they know what other people typically do. And I also recommend that you loop in typically as much as possible and multiple choice as much as possible throughout the sales cycle, because it just makes buyers feel safe and guided. Again, they feel like we are the expert. We are the Sherpa helping them get what they want. When we understand what buyers want to accomplish by excavating their pain, matching their urgency, and then teaching them how to buy, this makes our lives as sellers so much easier. We qualify our deals better because we know if their problem is big enough to solve and how soon they're looking to solve it. That helps us feel more in control, and we don't have deals slip as often because we've already talked about their idea of the timeline. And when we teach them how to buy at the end of every call, we shorten the sales cycle by guiding them versus reacting to them. We're saying, hey, typically what happens next is this, this, or this, instead of, okay, I guess I'll just wait to hear back after you sync internally. Big difference. So our deals get more predictable and our paychecks get more predictable because we know when deals will close versus everything just being a nail biter at the end of quarter or end of year. Now, I know this is a framework, but what part of the key here is keeping this sound like a normal, natural conversation between professionals who respect each other's time. That's why in every part of this video, I've told you, hey, in real life, this is what this could sound like. I encourage you to go back and rewind and find those parts so that you can make sure that this sounds like a completely normal conversation and not like something that you're reading, right? But something that you're really comfortable with. Also encourage you to practice it out loud so that the first time you hear yourself say it is not on a call with your customers. Here's the bottom line. In 2025, great discovery calls happen when we show up prepared, when we ask questions that matter to the business and their career, and actually listen like their success matters to you, and that we are good guides. We are prepared to guide them. It's not about having the perfect list of questions. It's about understanding their customer journey, mapping the typical decision process, helping them figure out how their buying process could align to that, and helping them see what winning or making a good decision looks like. When you do that consistently, your discovery calls stop feeling like awkward interviews or interrogations, and they start feeling like strategic conversations with a trusted advisor, the highest goal of selling. So this approach completely changed things for my client, Richard. Before we talked about EMT Discovery, he would show up to discovery calls with just this laundry list of questions. It felt like an interrogation, and it got him ghosted after some first calls. But after we simplified his approach with EMT Discovery, he closed the 2 largest deals in his company's history within 4 months. And he actually started enjoying the calls because they felt like real conversations, not awkward interviews or at worst interrogation. If you want the complete breakdown on how to prepare for discovery calls and turn them into really qualified opportunities, I put together a really simple guide that just walks through this whole process, and it's free. So just grab it in the description. And if this was helpful, subscribe for more and ask me questions below. I'd love to help you out.